It's embarrassing when you think about it. Our lives are just so small. In the grand scheme of things, you almost wonder why you bother. But wait, is that the demon talking? No, it's probably just you. The little nugget of preposterous doom is brought to you by bizarro kingpin Carlton Mellic III, who cuts straight to the stupid fucking chase. And nails it like crazy, as usual. And this is Stupid Fucking Reason to Sell Your Soul by Carlton Mellic III. When I died, I knew I was going to hell, but I had no idea I would be going to hell inside the belly of a 300-foot, morbidly obese, demonic ogre. After I slit my wrists in the bathtub, an enormous red hand came through my ceiling and ripped my soul right out of my flesh. He picked me up to his face, frowning at me with the jowls of a bulldog and glaring at me with the black bull eyes of a shark. Like a liquor cabinet, he opened up his torso and revealed an ancient dungeon within the drippy hollows of his body where his liver and intestines should have been. There were rows of man-sized bird cages made of human bones, dangling from black tendons that grew from the ogre's ceiling flesh. He placed me gently inside one of the cages in his belly, as if careful not to damage me in any way before reaching hell. City lights dimmed around me as the ogre closed the door to his stomach. The cage swayed as the giant demon continued walking through the city, heading toward his next passenger. As my eyes adjusted to the torchlight emanating from the demon's spinal column, I saw other people in the cages around me. Both of the cells next to me were occupied, one by somebody I quickly named the saddest man in the world, because there was no other name he could possibly have. The other cage was jam-packed full of people, young businessmen and about 6 Asian women who were gossiping in what I believed to be Cantonese. The man looked miserable to be trapped with the Asian girls, staring out of his bone cage at me as if begging for help. After getting stared at for a few minutes, I started to feel uncomfortable and tried to ignore him. I examined the giant's muscled insides, listening to the gurgling sounds coming from his bowels far below. The head of the giant's inside was like a sauna. Spiders of sweat crawled down my neck and forehead. "What did you do?" somebody asked. It was the man with the Asian girls. I looked over at him. "Huh? Why are you going to hell?" he asked. "Did you kill anyone? Or were you a serial rapist or something?" I shook my head. "I didn't do anything like that." "You had to have done something." I rubbed sweat from my face. "Well, I committed suicide, but that's not why I'm going to hell. Last year, I made a pact with a demon." "You too? You sold your soul to the devil?" "Yeah." "Huh, so did I." "What did you sell yours for?" I didn't really want to tell him. It was stupid. "Come on, tell me." "I'd really prefer not talking about it." "You know what I sold my soul for?" He pointed at the Asian girls around him. Hot Asian girls. Then he made a gun with his fingers and pointed it at his head. What a mistake that was. I tell you, never sell your soul to the devil while you're drunk. "What's wrong with Asian girls?" "Don't get me wrong. I love Asian girls. That's why I asked for them. But I was too drunk to specify exactly what I wanted from the hot Asian girls. All I got was a group of hot Asian girls that followed me around everywhere I went. They hung out in my apartment, eating all my food, taking over my living room and never letting me use my bedroom or bathroom. They'd hang out in my office at work. They'd chit-chat outside of men's room stalls whenever I was trying to go to the bathroom. They'd gather around me while I was having dinner in restaurants. Keeping jobs and girlfriends was practically impossible. They'd been like a plague to me. I couldn't get rid of them. Eventually, I just couldn't take it anymore and blew my brains out. I knew I'd be going to hell, but at least I'd be free of them." "But now they're even following you to hell?" The man with the Asian girl sighed. "I'm such an idiot." "But being surrounded by beautiful women can't be all bad." "Yeah, you'd think. They don't want to have anything to do with me. They always act as if I don't even exist." "Still better than what I sold my soul for." "What did you sell your soul for?" I looked away from him, glancing over at the other prisoner. The saddest man in the world was just sitting in his cage, examining his hands in his lap. Although he had an absolutely miserable expression on his face, it still didn't seem as if he was too concerned about going to hell. The man with the Asian girls kept looking at me until I said something. "What about him?" I pointed at the saddest man in the world. Maybe he sold his soul for something as well. The man with the Asian girls turned to the saddest man in the world. Well, how about you? After a moment of silence, the saddest man in the world said, Yeah. Yeah, what? Asked the man with the Asian girls. I sold my soul too. More silence. We stared at the miserable man until he spoke. I sold my soul to be abducted by aliens, said the saddest man in the world. What? The man with the Asian girls said, pushing an Asian girl in hot pink shorts out of his way. Why would you sell your soul for that? I always had a fantasy that I would be abducted by aliens, said the saddest man in the world. I dreamt of being taken up on a ship, brought into a wonderful void of space, and be raped anally over and over again by beautiful alien boys. Eerie smile cracked the lips of the saddest man in the world. Said the man with the Asian girls. I wanted their tentacles wrapped around me. The saddest man in the world closed his eyes and imagined it was happening to him as he spoke. Suction cups clasped tightly to my breasts, purple tongues sliding up my inner thighs, erect, oozing members. Okay, that's enough. The man with the Asian girls diverted his eyes as the strange man began to rub his bare nipples. The saddest man in the world continued. My buttocks spread wide open as they're squirming, pulsating. I said that's enough. The saddest man in the world calmed himself and said, It was absolutely the best night of my entire life. Totally worth my soul. But ever since then, living on Earth just hasn't been the same. Human beings are just so boring compared to aliens. He let out a big sigh and then turned away from us. The man with the Asian girls looked at me. It's still better than what I sold my soul for, I told him. The man with the Asian girls called up to the people in the cages far above us. All of them had also sold their souls to demons. Each one had sold them for incredibly stupid reasons. There was a guy who sold his soul for front row tickets to a Danzig concert. There was a cheerleader who sold her soul to know what her friends were always saying about her behind her back. There was a woman who sold her soul so that her cute puppy would stay a puppy forever. There was a little boy who sold his soul so he could speak to ants. But none of them were as stupid as what I sold my soul for. So what did you sell your soul for? Asked the man with the Asian girls. I shook my head at him. I really don't want to say. How could it possibly be stupider than what everyone else asked for? It is. Just give me a hint. I looked down at the pool of stomach acids below. Fine. Well, I paused. My girlfriend and I were big cyclists. We didn't have cars. We rode bikes everywhere as much as we could. And I'm getting to it. I clenched a fist and then exhaled. One day my girlfriend was hit by a car. She went face first into the windshield. Died right in front of me. Her head was split open. I saw everything. Her brain was like a puddle of pink scrambled eggs. The image horrified me. From that day on, not only was I miserable without the love of my life, I was also in constant fear that I would break my head open. I stopped riding my bike. I stopped doing anything even remotely dangerous. The brain is such a fragile thing. I had to be careful not to have anything happen to it. The thought of damaging my brain plagued my every waking moment. What did you do? When I met the demon with the devil's contract, I knew I had to ask for something that would ease my worries. I should have asked for invincibility, or at least a metal skull. There's only one thing I could think about. I was thinking that if my brains were made out of another material, something less fragile, something firm and flexible that could absorb impact, I wouldn't have to worry about damaging my brain anymore. I would be free. So what did you sell your soul for? I tilt my head to wipe sweat from my ear. My head is so lightweight it feels almost empty. I asked the demon to change my brain. Into what? Never mind. I break eye contact. It's just too embarrassing to say out loud. The man with the Asian girls groaned loudly and gave up, rolling his head back against the bars of human bone. Our cages continued rocking back and forth as the giant demon's feet stomped through town, knocking down trees and crushing doghouses. The demon made just one last stop before he burrowed his way back to hell, picking up an old woman with a crazy smile on her face. We sat in silence as the giant's hollow torso began to fill with digestive fluids. Just like every miserable day of my miserable life since I sold my soul to that fucking demon, I endured the maddening, squeaky sound of blood pumping through my styrofoam brain.